Boom, 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 boom. Now tell me what you gonna do, but it ain't nowhere to run. When judgment comes for you, when judgment comes for you, tell me what you gonna do, when it ain't nowhere to hide. When judgment comes for you, 'cause it's gonna come for you.
Swinging it for water, easy, see something Charlie. Little boo boo God's got him, and I'm gonna miss everybody out of row and flow like eggs. Looked at a wild flag and prayed for dust, and they play too deep for being sad. Little legs I got to be. Tell me your feature deceased, would it please? Marry me by my grand new way. You can't go follow
God bless you, working on the plan to heaven.
Back on Wrestling Network. Welcome back to the CrosUp, your weekly look back at the week that was in professional wrestling. This week I'll be running through the results and happenings from Raw on September the 8th to Collision on September the 13th. I will not be covering the Worlds Collide show from Friday, mostly because I did watch it at some point, but I didn't honestly just pay all that much attention to it, if I'm being honest with you. I kind of watched the main event, but kind of just had it on the background while I did some other stuff the rest of the night. So, Dirty Dom's your new AAA Mega Champion. That's kind of the big thing that happened there. So, congrats to him. But I will not be covering the rest of the show this week on this show. So, we open with Raw as always. We open with a recap of Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch getting in Punk's face, kind of getting under his skin the previous week, and we kind of show AJ Lee showing up on SmackDown as well, getting the hero's welcome that she got, and kind of taking out Becky on SmackDown before they kind of cut off the show. But we've cut to the arena, and Becky Lynch is coming in, but she does not want the camera on her right now. She's wearing some big glasses, so she might be hiding something under those from the attack that she took from AJ. We cut to the commentary desk. We have Joe Tessitore and Corey Graves tonight. They must have just given Michael Cole the week off because he was not there or on SmackDown either. But Corey Graves actually makes a reference to Wade Barrett being on vacation, which is, I think some reports have been floating around the previous week that he was going to be off commentary permanently for reasons unknown to anybody else. But Wade Barrett kind of popped up and said that wasn't true. He was just taking a 2-week hiatus. So hopefully him and Cole will be back on Raw, or maybe it might be Tessitore and Barrett on Raw going forward, because Tessitore's got college football during the weekend. So SmackDown, it's going to be tough for him. And I think he even calls the Friday night game a lot of weeks. So hopefully Tessitore hangs around, and maybe he'll do Mondays with Barrett and Graves, and Cole will do SmackDown together, so Joe can kind of do Raw. But anyways, they but Corey kind of makes a joke about Barrett being on vacation, and even hearing rumors that he might have been exiled from the company or whatever. But Jey Uso gets things going in the ring. Jimmy Uso pops up next to him for his entrance, and they come out together, and they do the encore entrance together. And obviously the fans are happy to see the Usos back together. Jay obviously brings up the Vision, and in particular the Brawnies. Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker then come out, with Breaker being annoyed, so annoyed that he can barely speak. Bronson Reed has to hold him back and wants the fans to acknowledge their tribal thief. Reed promises revenge for what happened to Paul Heyman, but Jimmy calls them PB and J security, so making fun of the fact that especially Reed is kind of a little more of a pudgy guy. They continue to mock Heyman. Instead of calling him the Oracle, they call him the Orca. But then they get to the point they want a tag match at WrestlePalooza, and the Brawns seem to agree to that. The Usos are ready to fight right now, but LA Knight comes in to brawl with Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker. That doesn't go so well, so the Usos come out and hit stereo dives to kind of save LA Knight, and then the faces clear them out, with LA Knight shoving Bronson Reed into Jey Uso on mistake, and then the Vision bail, but Jay and LA Knight continue to argue. We then cut to the back, and LA Knight argues with Adam Pearce, says if he wanted to go after Jay, he would have just done it on his own. He wants one of the Brawns tonight. He says he'll even take on LeBron James, Bronny James, or even Charles Bronson. So as long as they have the name Braun in their name, he will take on won in all of them. It doesn't matter if he wins or loses because he just wants to get his hands on one of them and take them out. We then cut to our first match where AJ Styles defeats El Grande Americano via pinfall with the Styles Clash. We had another El Grande Americano come out, kind of one of his seems to be one of his minions. But he had come out to help the original El Grande Americano, but Dragon Lee was able to cut that one off and help ward him off so Styles could win the match. Nikki Bella then interrupts Io Sky and Adam Pearce. Stephanie Vaquer is apparently out of the contract signing, but she'll be around for the title match at WrestlePalooza. The Kabuki Warriors interrupt, and Nikki doesn't seem happy about this, saying she was just talking to Io. She wasn't trying to fight her or have any, have any kind of personal conversation, or wasn't trying to cause any trouble. She was just talking to a friend, basically. But Asuka kind of challenges her to a match later on, and the Kabuki Warriors and Nikki kind of walk off with Io kind of shaking her head, not knowing what just happened. We then get a video of AJ Lee, kind of her career from her previous stint, kind of talking about who she is. If there's a younger fan that may have not been around or be a fan when she was around the first time, just kind of catching you up on who she is, what she's all about. We then get Raquel Rodriguez defeating Lyra Valkyria via pinfall when she hits the Tejana bomb after some interference from Roxanne Perez. Penta and the War Raiders exchange pleasantries backstage, but Penta talks to Adam Pearce, saying he wants the Intercontinental title. Pearce doesn't say no, but Rusev comes in and says he wants a title shot as well, and Penta gets in Rusev's face, and they make a match for later on tonight. We then get AJ Styles. He thanks Dragon Lee when Jimmy Uso comes in looking for Jay. Jay then pops up behind him. He says he's ready to leave, but Jimmy says they need to be here for LA Knight versus Bronson Reed later on. Jay isn't happy with LA Knight and says this is about the Usos, not him. Jimmy says Jay is starting to sound a lot like Roman Reigns, with Jay saying sounding like himself doesn't seem to be working, so maybe sounding like Roman's not such a bad thing, and then he walks away. AJ Lee then comes out wearing the Women's Intercontinental Championship that she had stolen from Becky on Friday. She says, in case you weren't here 10 years ago and were confused as to why your millennial parents were so excited on Friday, my name is AJ Lee, and she is your favorite wrestler's favorite wrestler. She retired 10 years ago and hung up her Chuck Taylors and thought she would never wear jean shorts that were 2 sizes too small ever again. During the 10 years away, though, she went on a mental health journey and things are going well. But then things started to change, apparently. And somewhere in the middle of that, we get a therapy chant because she said she'd been going to therapy. So that was something you probably weren't thinking that would happen in a wrestling setting, but that's something that happened. She said she can live with the idea that her husband is fighting Seth Rollins or Drew McIntyre, but it's a different thing when he is in the ring with someone like Becky Lynch. AJ thought that they would thought that her and Becky would get along as they're both rebels, leaders, and best-selling authors. Though AJ did do the best-selling author part first, and all the other things actually, really. But then Becky had to go and vote her husband, which she kind of had stuffed her head in Punk's chest the previous week. And this brings out Becky. She's wearing some really huge sunglasses. They kind of looked like Carnage from the Spider-Man universe. Kind of, they were like really big glasses, and they had kind of like the red symbiote looking stuff all over it. So I don't know if that's what they were, but that's what they kind of look like. But Becky says this isn't about AJ Lee's husband, and she rants about how great she really is. The fans then boo her pretty loudly, and she says she'll have to go to therapy after this, after having listened to AJ and the fans. They once again chant therapy. AJ says, I have some names I can give you. She forgot she was wearing the title, and Becky takes her sunglasses off, revealing a black eye. Like I said, she was kind of hiding something earlier. AJ then asked if that black eye was from her tiny little fist. AJ lays the title down for her, but Becky insists that she's not chicken, but continues to not go into the ring. Becky says, you listen to me, you Jersey trash bag weirdo. Becky then said this has nothing to do with AJ until CM Punk got involved and asked where he is, obviously kind of calling him out that he's not out there right now. She brings out Seth Rollins, who says AJ can give Becky the title back or they can come take it. AJ says Becky can come get it while risking another black eye, or she can agree to a mixed tag match at WrestlePalooza. Seth then says he's going to come in and get the title, but as soon as he goes to grab it, AJ kind of jumps in front of it. CM Punk then comes out to go after Seth, and Becky and Seth both escape and agree to the mixed tag match at WrestlePalooza. AJ then kisses the Intercontinental Championship and throws it at Becky, who's still kind of cowering in the entranceway. We then go to Bayley. She cuts another one of her little vignette promos, kind of hearing voices in her head and all that kind of stuff. She talks about how she needs to make this better because Lyra Valkyria was the last person she wanted to hurt or screw out of an opportunity. She hurt a lot of people over the years, but they deserved it. So she isn't sure how Valkyria can forgive her when she can't even forgive herself. And then the voices that she's been hearing start talking to her again, but she insists that she'll make it right with Lyra. We then get Rusev defeating Penta via pinfall when he caught him coming off the ropes on a springboard with the Machka kick and knocks him out and gets the pinfall there. We then look back at John Cena versus Sami Zayn from SmackDown, where Brock Lesnar came out and laid both of them out. We then get Jimmy Uso. He comes in to see LA Knight, who explains that what happened earlier was an accident. Jimmy seems to accept it and says says they have beef with the Vision tonight. Both of them do. LA Knight then says there is no we because the Usos keep costing him. If Jimmy wants to help, don't help because Knight can do it himself. We then get Asuka defeating Nikki Bella via submission with the Asuka lock. We then go back to the Judgment Day Clubhouse. They're happy with Raquel Rodriguez's big win earlier and are ready for Roxanne Perez to do it next week. Dominic Mysterio comes in, says he's been getting ready for his AAA Mega Championship match this Friday at Worlds Collide. They ask if he was off with El Grande Americano. The team thinks Americano wants something in return, but Dom says it wouldn't happen if they didn't get banned last week. Dom then storms off with Roxanne seeming to follow him to kind of talk and calm him down. The Kabuki Warriors then come up to Nikki Bella, who doesn't think much of them. Rhea Ripley then comes in and asks if there's a problem. Rhea then asks about Io Sky, and Asuka leaves, with Kairi staying until Asuka yells at her again. Kairi's been very good in these segments the last few weeks, but she seems to want to be kind of on Io's side, but she also is kind of under Asuka's control for some reason over the last little bit. So, but yeah, I think Kairi's been pretty good so far. But then we get our main event where Bronson Reed defeats LA Knight via pinfall after hitting the Jagged Edge, which is just a Death Valley driver that he hits where he kind of spikes Knight on it. And then after the match, they continue to beat him down. Jimmy Uso comes and makes a save. Obviously, the Brawns continue to kind of beat both of them down until Jay comes out to make the save. Jay ends up getting super speared, and then a tsunami is loaded up. Knight then comes in with a chair to make the save, and then Jimmy and LA kind of seem to be on the same page, but Jay then comes in and spears LA Knight, kind of leaving him laying. And Jay kind of waves on for Jimmy to come out or to leave with him instead of checking on LA Knight as they continue to have problems. So possible heel turn for Jay coming up, kind of showing that Roman Reigns kind of mentality that Jimmy kind of called out earlier. But we'll see how that kind of keeps going, because it seemed like LA Knight was maybe going heel a few weeks ago, but we'll see how this continues to kind of play out. But AJ Styles versus El Grande Americano was the best match for me on Raw. So if you're going to check out something from that, definitely check that out. But I mean, the main event was good as well, but that's just what I would go with for best match for me. We'll go to NXT from there. We open with Javon Evans. He comes out to call out Josh Briggs. Ava comes out and makes a match between the two, and it starts right now. And Josh Briggs actually defeats Javon Evans via pinfall when he pulled the chain that he had around his neck off, loaded it up on his hand, and punched Evans as he's coming off the top rope with his springboard cutter. We then get Ava. She puts Obafemi and Ricky Saints in the Grayson Waller effect for next week's NXT Homecoming episode. Trick Williams comes in and alludes to something with Ava for later. Says she hasn't forgotten, or says he hasn't forgotten Obafemi. Ricky Saints wouldn't understand the kind of conversations they're having with each other because he's not championship material, and this is championship business. We then get DIY coming out. They are celebrating 10 years together as a tag team, and when they debuted in NXT, says they may be on SmackDown now, but NXT will always be their home. Ciampa knew that his last match in NXT wasn't really his last match in NXT. He brings up Trick Williams, who of course comes out to interrupt them. Last week they got the better of him because it was a 2-on-1. Now it's time for his NXT crew to even things up. Obviously, Carmelo Hayes comes out, his old buddy, who looks at Trick and talks about how Trick was or has said a lot of things that are true, but also a lot of things that are false. DIY did build this house, and Hayes did the repairs and did some refurbishing um, in his run as NXT champion and just his run in NXT in general. But Trick needs to learn that rent is due to all three of them. The next time he gets in the ring, he needs to take his high heels off, sit down, and listen while the OGs talk. Trick says he wears his heels where he wants to, but Champa asks which one of them is the little brother and which one's the big brother. Carmelo wisely points out that Champa and Gargano are hardly ones to talk about friends stabbing each other in the back. That's kind of shrugged off, and then they kind of go at it, and a tag match is set up for Homecoming next week. So it'll be Trick Mello Gang versus DIY. We then get Laney Reed defeating Fabi Apache via pinfall with a running knee after a distraction from Natalia. This advances Laney Reed to the finals against Candice LeRae to see who will face Sol Ruca for the Speed title at No Mercy. Apache and Natalia had a match at Worlds Collide as well, which was kind of why she ended up distracting her there for that win. So, um, and I'm fairly positive Natalia beat her at Worlds Collide. So we then go to Zarya and Sol Ruca. They are ready for their number one contenders match for the women's tag team titles tonight when Hank and Tank come in, and they kind of give each other pep talks to kind of hype each other up for both of their big matches because Hank and Tank are going to be facing Dark State in a rematch for the tag titles. We then go to Blake Monroe. It's one of her vignettes where she's kind of in the bathtub, kind of talking about Jordan Grace. The lights go red. She says the glamour can bleed and come back. So now Jordan Grace has awakened her kind of dark side inside of her. So Jordan Grace better watch out for when Blake comes back because she busted her open last week, and you don't want to do that. Dark State then defeats Hank and Tank with a roll up and a handful of tights by Dion Lennox on Hank after Joe Hendry had kind of popped up and his interference attempt kind of went awry. So he tried to help Hank and Tank with Dark State, but there's just a few too many of those Dark State guys, and it didn't end up working out for Hank and Tank, and Dark State retains their titles. We get a video on the history of kind of flag matches, which is, obviously you go to the corner and grab your respective flag, and your opponent tries to do the same thing with their flag. Tavian Heights and Ethan Page are both ready for their flag match tonight, but it kind of shows previous flag matches and kind of how it works and all that kind of stuff. So, and then when we cut away from that, we go to like a Twitter video from earlier in the day, and it's Ethan Page talking to Miles Bourne, seemingly trying to recruit him or trying to get him to understand that he needs to focus on himself and not let people continue to just kind of push him around. Basically just trying to get him to understand that he can't keep doing things the way he's doing it, or he's not going to have success like Ethan Page has obviously had. So needs to have a kind of change in attitude is what he's trying to get across. And then we see that kind of when Lexus King thinks that Miles Bourne is blind as well, but Bourne comes in, turns the lights off, and starts teeing off on him with a chair. And the lights come back on, and Bourne is kind of charging out, and Lexus King is laid out. We then go to our flag match where Tavion Heights defeats Ethan Page when he successfully grabs the United States flag first. After the match, Heights even goes to the other corner, gets the Canadian flag, and buries Ethan Page under it. Randomly, then we get Tyler Breeze showing up, and he comes out to take a selfie with Page kind of under the Canadian flag. So we will actually get Tyler Breeze versus Ethan Page for the North American Championship next week on the homecoming episode. So cool to see Breezy back, but it definitely seemed very random and out of nowhere. But happy to always hear that theme song once again, and always interested to see what he can still do in the ring. So we then get Lola Vice. It's another one of her kind of introspective kind of you know packages, kind of talking about her life and how she grew up. This one focuses on her relationship with her dad. He owns a taekwondo school, and it's where she kind of learned a lot of the stuff that she kind of the way she fights and the way she wrestles. Obviously she had a previous career as a MMA fighter, but it talks about how she's a black belt and has multiple degrees from when she went to college as well, and she's ready to win a big match near her hometown. So. Kind of just more history about her and how about her life up until this point. So, they're going real hard into this Lola Vice push with this title match. So it's going to be kind of weird if she doesn't win because they're really going hard into this. But I guess we'll see if she ends up pulling it off. But the way they're kind of building it up and doing this so far, it seems like she might end up being the one that takes away the title from JC. But speaking of JC, we get a Fatal Influence promo talking about how they're ready for the Triple Threat Tag Titles, our Tag Title #1 contendership match later, and they're excited about it because if they win and then win next week, they will hold all of the gold in the women's division. We then get that match, and the culling of Izzy Dame and Tatum Paxley defeat Zarya and Sol Ruka and Fatal Influence when Izzy Dame hits the Sky High on Fallon Henley. And then after the match, JC comes in and yells at the rest of the team. And then we cut to the parking lot where we see a couple of cars arrive. So it was actually an elimination match, and it came down to the culling and Fatal Influence. Zarya and Sol had been eliminated when Sol was going for the Soul Snatcher on Tatum Paxley, and Paxley kind of moved, kind of pushed out of the way by Izzy. Izzy had kind of pushed Zarya into Tatum and knocked Tatum out of the ring, and then Soul accidentally hits the Soul Snatcher on Zarya, and she ended up getting pinned. So, but the culling ended up beating Fatal Influence, obviously, in the second half of the match. But we go to commercial break and we come back, and Fatal Influence is still in the ring. She's still yelling at Fallon and Jasmine for losing, saying the loss is not on her and she does not need anything from these fans. She's the greatest women's NXT champion of all time. So Stephanie Vaquer comes out to interrupt. Vaquer lists off her own successes, but JC points out that there are three of her and just one of them. So Tiffany Stratton comes out to talk about what she's done and how long she's been the WWE Women's Champion and how long she was NXT champion. JC Jane says they're like the super seniors who come back to high school after they graduate. Tiffany Stratton says she doesn't know if mommy's going to be all that happy with being called a super senior. So Rhea Ripley comes out, obviously. She doesn't buy anything JC Jane is saying, and they lay out a challenge for a 6-woman tag next week, and then they brawl to kind of end the show with the faces obviously ending up on top. Josh Briggs and Javon Evans was the best match of the show. Briggs, I think, with the best match on NXT 2 weeks in a row. So really doing some good stuff right now, but a hot opener without a doubt. So speaking of hot openers, we'll go to Dynamite. We open with Hangman Page defeating Josh Alexander via pinfall with the Buckshot Lariat, despite constant interference from the Don Callis family, but it doesn't end up working. After the match, Hangman says that he didn't lose all kinds of blood to win this title, to just have MJF change the stipulations under threats of pain. At the same time, wrestling is the word that matters in AEW because he is the all elite wrestling world champion. Kyle Fletcher comes out to say he hasn't gotten a response to his title challenge, so Hangman tells him to get in the ring. Hangman says he sees a lot of potential in Fletcher, but he can't even put on his own socks. While Fletcher full of potential. He isn't ready, which Fletcher says he's heard this his whole life. Hangman is willing to give Fletcher the title shot, but he needs Fletcher to do it himself. Title can be on the line, but that's only if the Don Callis family is left out and left backstage uh, to not interfere in their match. So that ends that segment. We look back at MJF costing Mark Briscoe his match on Collision. MJF talks about getting married recently, but he's not going on a honeymoon until Mark Briscoe is dead. He's been married to his career for a long time, and he's been also been married to hatred for a long time because he doesn't really like a lot of people. Uh, the Young Bucks, we then cut to the Young Bucks and catering. They are tired of the food, and even Brandon Cutler, when they sit with him, turns on them and says he didn't want to deal with them anymore. John Moxley then comes in to say that they are in the match with the Death Riders later in the $500,000 10-man tag that they will have later on tonight. We then get Riho and Alex Windsor defeating Emi Sakura and Mercedes Moné when Riho gets Sakura to tap to a half Boston Crab. We then get Ricochet and the Gates of Agony. They want to take out the Hurt Syndicate at All Out. We then get video of FTR and Christian Cage and Cope with a bunch of stats about how many tag titles these guys have won and world titles that Christian Cage and Cope have won throughout their careers. FTR and Stokely then come out to the ring and says it won't be a dream match at All Out, but rather a fight. This should have been a dream match, but Harwood stops to get in fans' faces and ask if they want to fight, and instead they end up beating a cameraman up in the entranceway until security comes out to stop them. Shelton then accepts Ricochet's challenge from earlier, with everyone supposed to be staying in the back, and then they also agree to the 6-man at All Out. Ricochet then defeats Shelton Benjamin via pinfall when the Gates do not stay in the back, get involved, and Ricochet is able to get him with a surprise roll-up. After the match, the Hurt Syndicate come out for a big brawl, and everyone eventually has to be separated. We go to Hook sitting at a New York rooftop around a fire. Says he understands why he was quickly replaced in the ops, but it's time for him to stand on his own, or maybe not. So maybe implying that Hook may have a new group of his own coming out soon to kind of combat the ops or combat and help the ops, or we'll see what the kind of is as in the future for Hook. But he seemed to say he was going to be on his own, but then he kind of implied that maybe he has another group on the way. Don Callis and Kyle Fletcher are ready for Fletcher's title shot at All Out, and Don Callis says Kyle doesn't need any help because he's the future and he can beat Hangman all on his own. We then get Toni Storm defeating Sky Blue in a Philly street fight when she hits the Storm Zero on a steel chair. After the match, the rest of the Triangle of Madness run in for a beatdown, but Statlander and Hayter run in for the save. The heels kind of take over once again, and Tekla spears Toni Storm and then holds up the title to end the segment. We then get Willow Nightingale. She wants to punch Marina Shafir in the face, but Harley Cameron comes in to kind of hype her up a little bit more with a song. We then get announced that there will be a 3-way match for the unified title at All Out, and they'll have a mini tournament to see who qualifies for it. So obviously, in classic AEW fashion, the champion actually has to qualify for the championship match. So he has to face Michael Oku. The Beast Mortos has to face Mascara Dorado, and Konosuke Takeshita is going to face Anthony Bowens. 2 of those matches will happen on Collision, and the other will happen next week on Dynamite. And then we finish the show with the main event where the Death Riders and the Young Bucks defeat the Ops and Brodito when the Young Bucks do an assisted roll-up on Bandito and win the $500,000. After the match, the Bucks and Brodito continue to brawl to the back, leaving the Death Riders to beat on the Ops. Darby Allin runs in to make the save, but Daniel Garcia comes in to take him out, which seemingly means that he is joining the Death Riders, and then Darby Allin is left laying to end the show. So we have a new member of the Death Riders. Hopefully, this will mean that Wheeler Yuta will get kicked out, and Daniel Garcia can kind of be their young boy. As far as the best match for Dynamite, I would absolutely go with the opener. That was probably the best match of the week, let alone just Dynamite. But Alexander and Paige really went after it and got plenty of time and had a really good match. So definitely check that one out. We'll then cut from there to Impact. We open with Moose defeating AJ Francis via pinfall following the spear, despite constant interference and distraction from Mustafa Ali and his Secret Service that were ringside. After the match, Moose challenges Ali to a match but does not get an answer. Then cut to the System in the back. Myers and Edwards says they are ready to face the Nemeth in tonight's main event. The Rascals then are back together in the treehouse. They want to win some titles. The smoke then starts up, and they can't figure out what Jake something's name is. Like Trey asks what his last name is, and Wentz just keeps saying something, and obviously it gets confusing because they're a little inebriated. But it was pretty good, funny little segment. Those treehouse segments are usually a pretty solid little thing that they do pretty consistently. We're then supposed to get a Joe Hendry versus Eric Young match, but Travis Williams ends up attacking him from behind, who's a member of the Northern Armory. And they end up wrestling instead. Joe Hendry pretty quickly defeats him via pinfall with a standing ovation. After the match, Hendry bails when the rest of the Northern Armory, Eric Young and Judas Icarus, come in to try to attack him. Eric Young then yells at the Northern Armory and drops both of them with 2 pile drivers each. So maybe the end of the Northern Armory as a whole, but Joe Hendry and Eric Young are still on a collision course with each other, so we'll see when that match eventually happens. We then look back at Frankie Kazarian defeating Matt Cardona last week thanks to Ryan Nemeth. Matt Cardona tells Ryan to put his nose in Cardona's business again, and he'll see what happens. We then get Victoria Crawford coming out. She is going to have a interview segment going forward. Her first guest is Gia Miller, who is the backstage interviewer. Victoria basically just yells at her for getting Tessa Blanchard suspended, despite the fact that Tessa attacked her unwarranted. Gia blames Blanchard for her own actions, and Crawford only made it worse with threats of violence after this. Jody Threat then runs in to break up a fight before Gia does something she regrets and attacks Crawford, but Crawford eventually bails, and Gia is kind of left fuming to end the segment. So she's kind of left out there. So I have a feeling Gia is going to get involved in a match at some point, but I just don't know when, and if it'll be against Tessa or if she'll face Victoria first, or we'll see. But we get a number 1 contendership for the X Division title match next. It's all the Rascals and Jake Something, but Myron Reed ends up taking it when he hits a 450 splash on Jake Something. So the new member of the Rascals, seeming to get the big win. So we'll see if him and Slater have a banger coming up, or I mean, I'm sure it'll be really good. They both seem like they're pretty solid superstars. So, but after the match, Jake Something goes to the back and he runs into Frankie Kazarian. He says, despite the loss, Kazarian offers him a spot by his side, as Kazarian is going to win the international title, and asks Jake Something if he really finally wants to be something. So kind of gets under his skin and tries to get him to understand that maybe following a mentor like Frankie Kazarian could be beneficial for his career. But then we go to our next match. We have Heather by Elegance defeating Jessie McKay when she rolls her up after M by Elegance had caused a little bit of a distraction and then helped her kind of get the pinfall. Santino Marella comes out afterwards and immediately makes a match between Cassie and M by Elegance, and Cassie is able to defeat her via pinfall. following a swinging suplex after McKay had thwarted an interference attempt by Heather. Steve Macklin then talks about standing side by side in the Marines, and now Frankie Kazarian is coming after him, and that is perfectly fine with Macklin as he kind of wants to teach Frankie a lesson. The Elegance brand then complains to Santino about the upcoming title match with Masha Slamovich. Morella agrees to make it no DQ, with Indy Hartwell being the guest referee. Oh, and the Inspiration are going to get a Knockouts Tag Team title shot at Victory Road as well. Mike Santana then comes through the crowd for a match, but instead of getting the match, Trek Williams actually attacks him from behind in the entranceway, and the match never ends up happening, and security kind of has to break it up. And then we get the Nemeths defeating the system of Myers and Edwards when Nick hits the danger zone on Edwards after a distraction from Ali in Order 4. After the match, the Nemeths say they're getting their title rematch next week, so here are the Hardys to chase them off to end the show. The X Division 4-way was actually pretty entertaining. I'd say if you're gonna check something out from Impact, definitely check that out. So probably one of the better matches over the last month or so from Impact on TV. So, but we will go to SmackDown from there. We open with a long recap of John Cena versus Sami Zayn from the previous week, and Brock Lesnar coming out to interrupt and attack both of them. Lesnar comes out to get things going to start the show, and the fans boo him pretty loud. He gets on the mic, but before he can say much, R-Truth comes out to interrupt. Lesnar tells him to shut up, but R-Truth wants to be the first star to welcome Lesnar back. That makes Brock smile. R-Truth makes the mistake of saying he used to be scared of him. Lesnar isn't sure who R-Truth is, so Truth says that he is John Cena's older brother. Lesnar asks, "How old are you and what is your name?" The reality is Lesnar is here to find Cena, but if R-Truth doesn't know where Cena is, why is he here? R-Truth is here to defend his older brother because his name is Ron Cena. He's here to stop the disrespect from Brock, and because Cena went absolutely nuts earlier this year. Super Cena is coming back for Lesnar, and he is filled with hustle, loyalty, respect, and tears from the kids that he made cry a few months ago. Lesnar confirms that R-Truth's name is Ron Cena. And then points out that he's missing a tooth, which R-Truth doesn't understand, and this causes Brock to hit the F5. And Lesnar, actually, as he goes for the F5 and lands, he actually splits his pants, and then he kind of laughs and points out that he's wearing blue underwear for being on SmackDown. So kind of a funny little thing, or a funny little mishap that happened there. Sami Zayn is then in the back. He's ready to restart the U.S. Open Challenge, and he's glad that someone is his first challenger, and we see that it is Rey Fenix. So they'll have that match later on. Solo Sikoa talks about the sacrifices he made to win the United States title, including attacking his own flesh and blood, just to prove what. Sikoa snaps as he talks about losing the title, but calms down to say he's lost everything. Change is going to happen sooner than later, and he is going to get everything back. We then get Sami Zayn defeating Rey Fenix via pinfall following the Haluva kick to retain his championship. We then get B-Fab. She is interrupted in the backstage by Julia and Kiana James, and they kind of just, bitch back and forth at each other until the segment ends. The Wyatt Six then talk about the cracks in the Street Profits, who can either split up or be destroyed. So where do the Profits go from here? They need to follow the Buzzards. We then get B-Fab versus Julia, supposed to happen, but it never starts, as Julia and Kiana attack her before the bell until Michin comes out and runs them off while she's wielding her kendo stick. We then get an Aleister Black promo saying that Damian Priest can either keep fighting him or give up. So that rivalry is seemingly not over yet. We then get Jade Cargill versus Tiffany Stratton for the women's title, but it ends in a double countout after both end up going through the barricade, and Nia Jax comes out afterwards and attacks both of them and leaves them laying. So we'll probably get a triple threat somewhere along the way for that, because that seems to be the direction they've been going the last month or so, and that's just something that we'll probably see. We then go to the back, and Nick Aldis is cut off by Chelsea Green and Alba Fire, who want their tag title shot. Green thinks that Charlotte is being protected, and threats are made, with Aldis giving them the next women's tag team title shot after NXT Homecoming next week. Aldis then goes to leave, but The Miz comes in and interrupts him, only to be told that Carmelo has talked to him about an opportunity earlier today. But no specifics are given, but Miz seems pleased that he thinks his protege has asked for them a tag team title shot. We then get a really long and detailed look at John Cena and Brock Lesnar's rivalry throughout the years, including some training footage from their early days in OVW. They worked their way through the ranks and had their own styles, but it was clear that they were both going to be big stars. Lesnar would become the star first, obviously, kind of debuting as the next big thing, winning the title pretty quickly, while Cena took a little bit more time, but wound up being a much longer term star in the grand scheme of things, as Lesnar really only stayed around for a couple of years at the very beginning. They finally got together on the main roster and had a few matches, but then Lesnar obviously left due to not being able to handle the schedule. And they kind of talk about how the night that Lesnar left at WrestleMania 20, Cena won his first United States title, and this will be a continued video package up until the match at WrestlePalooza. So part 2 is coming next week, basically talking about Brock's return in 2012. We then get Rey Mysterio. He hypes up the Worlds Collide show that's going to be after SmackDown later that night, but Dom interrupts, promising to win the Mega Championship. Rey isn't convinced, but Dominic says, how about Rey puts the title around his waist when he wins? Rey says, if you win. Finn Balor then comes in and tells Dominic to prove himself tonight by winning alone. Dominic isn't so sure about what Finn just said. Sami Zayn then praises Rey Fenix, but Carmelo Hayes comes in to say he's got next, works for Sami, who tells him to not miss when he gets that opportunity. Carmelo is happy, but Miz comes in and asks what the heck that was. Apparently, Carmelo talked to Aldis about a title opportunity, but meant a United States title opportunity. Miz freaks out and says he's trying to guide him to the tag team titles, and Carmelo says, we can go for the tag team titles, but I need to go for the United States title first. And then we get our main event where Drew McIntyre defeats Randy Orton via pinfall following a Claymore. After the match, McIntyre loads up another Claymore against the announce table, which is what he kind of did to take out Cody Rhodes. And that draws out Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes beats McIntyre down and says he'll see him at WrestlePalooza. So another big match for that pay-per-view. Zayn and Phoenix was the best match. I would say it was pretty close to the Alexander Hangman match. Those two are by far the matches of the week, I would say. So really good stuff there. And then we'll go to Collision to end the week. Ian Riccaboni is in the ring and brings out MJF. MJF gets right to the point. Ian is to stand there while he does all the talking. He talks about how stupid the fans are, which is somehow as stupid as Mark Briscoe. MJF brags about his recent and future successes, which make him okay with Briscoe picking their all-out stipulation. Mark Briscoe pops up on the screen to say he hasn't been this excited since he was a kid waiting on Santa Claus. That's why he's been thinking about things like the fact that they're in Philadelphia. This city is known for its love of tables, so we'll make that the first piece of the puzzle. We'll throw in thumbtacks as well, and he means tens of thousands of them. Hell, we'll even throw in a wedding present, which involves Briscoe running in and jumping MJF, who escapes a J Driller onto some thumbtacks eventually. So I still don't think he really names a stipulation there, but it seems it's going to be some kind of hardcore match along the way. So we then look at Daniel Garcia joining the Death Riders on Dynamite. We then go to Hologram and the Paragon yelling about Garcia turning on his friends. Paragon is ready to give the Death Riders a beating later on tonight. So the Paragon will be facing off with Mox and Garcia later on tonight. We then get Konosuke Takeshita defeating Anthony Bowens via pinfall with the Raging Fire. This advances him to the three-way for the unified title at All Out. Then get Mascara Dorado saying he's ready to beat the Beast Muertos at Dynamite to advance to that match as well. We then get video of the Riho and Mercedes Moné kind of confrontations that we've had so far in the match that we had on Dynamite. We then get the Triangle of Madness, Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford defeating Harley Cameron, Chris Statlander, Tay Mello, Anna Jay, and Jamie Hayter when Tekla speared Anna Jay for the win. The heels, in winning, won the $500,000, so the men had their version on Dynamite, so the women have their version on Collision. After the match, the brawl continues on, but Queen Aminata and Mina Shirakawa run in with a spatula and a cooler for some reason. Tony Storm gets in a dive of her own and counters Tekla's spear with a Storm Zero to clear the ring. We then get Big Bill answering Max Caster's open challenge, and he defeats him in under 2 minutes with a Boss Man Slam. Post match, Big Bill calls Eddie Kingston out once again and says he's ready. He's tired of people yelling at him for not showing Kingston respect. Bill doesn't care about Japanese wrestling, and the challenge is set for All Out, and he doesn't think Kingston will show up. We then kind of continue this, but it's with Max Caster and Anthony Bowens. Jerry Lynn talks to Anthony Bowens again, but Bowens jumps Max Caster, and they brawl out into the arena. Caster fights back, but gets choked down, drawing Jerry Lynn back out to break things up. Jerry Lynn remembers how good of a team that they were, but then they wanted singles runs. Neither of them are doing anything. So here is, they're calling this group the Swirl. It's Blake Christian, and I believe Lee Johnson is the other guy's name, but they're called the Swirl apparently. They interrupt. Blake Christian is tired of Jerry Lynn, feeling some Lynn sanity for some reason. But Jerry Lynn, he calls him Billy Gunn number 2 because he's trying to get the Acclaimed back together. And they jump him, but Max Caster helps Jerry Lynn fight back, and Bowens doesn't want to go back, but he ends up helping as well and takes the Swirl out, and they're cleared out of the ring. But neither Caster nor Bowens seem to want any part of this reunion of getting back together. But Bowens did go back and help him, so it seems that maybe, despite the fact that they may not be best buds anymore, they do still have somewhat of a respect for each other. We then go back to Mystico, who seems to be cutting a promo, but he is cut off by MJF. And he has some weird guy with him with like a top hat on. MJF is ready to take Mystico's match for the better, Mystico's mask for the better of wrestling, so they will have a match at some point as well. FTR then defeats Tommy Billington and Adam Priest when they hit the spike pile driver on Billington for the win. After the match, FTR celebrates, and then we're randomly told about a 4-way ladder match for the tag team titles at All Out that'll be happening. And they kind of cut back to various teams that are ready to qualify for the ladder match. I'll look those up to kind of end the show in just a minute. Kazuchika Okada then defeats Michael Oku via pinfall following the Rainmaker. This advances him to his own title match at All Out, so it's going to be him and Takeshita so far, and then, like I said, Mortos and Dorado will fill the last spot, whoever wins that match. And then Takeshita after the match comes out and has a stare down with Okada. So I really wish they would have probably just made a one-on-one match between them two. Adding Mascara Dorado in there probably seems just kind of to muddle things up for muddling's sake. But then we get video of the Fletcher and Hangman stuff so far, kind of hyping up their big title match at All Out. And then the Death Riders of Garcia and Moxley defeat Paragon of O'Reilly and Strong when Garcia gets O'Reilly to tap to the Dragon Tamer. And then after the match, Garcia's buddy Matt Menard comes in to yell at him for joining the Death Riders, and Garcia just kind of ignores him and walks away. But as far as best match for the show, I would go with FTR versus Billington and Priest. The main event was good as well, but FTR is another one of those acts. I know I say this constantly, but they're another one of those acts. If they have a match on TV and it's given any semblance of time, they'll usually have a pretty solid match in the grand scheme of things. So definitely check that one out if you're looking to check something out. As always, thank you a lot for continue to check me out. I'm going to try to look up that all out tag team title ladder match, see what the qualifications are going to be there. But they're having qualifying matches on Dynamite. I'll obviously talk about that next week. But we will see a couple of those matches. Okay, I got some pulled up real quick. So it'll be Brodito obviously as the tag team champions, but Hinchicero and Josh Alexander will be facing Top Flight of Dante and Darius Martin. So that's one qualifying match. Got a match, and the Don Callis family is going to take that one. We have Kill Switch versus Jet Speed, Kill Switch and Kip Sabian versus Jet Speed. So we'll see how that one goes. I imagine Jet Speed will take that one, as Kill Switch and Kip are having a little bit of problems right now. And then the Bang Bang Gang of Austin Gunn and Juice Robinson will be taking on the Young Bucks. I imagine with a little bit of luck that the Young Bucks had last week, they will continue to probably have a little bit of luck there. But, Brodito versus some set of those three teams in a ladder match going in at All Out. So we'll see how that kind of goes. I imagine Brodito will come out as the champions. I could see maybe the Young Bucks kind of continuing their rise back to prominence, taking it. But I imagine either one of those teams will win. But All Out's looking to seems to be a pretty solid card so far, at least from an in-ring perspective. I wouldn't say it's been super well built outside of a couple other matches, but we'll see how it goes. That'll be next weekend as well as WrestlePalooza. So next weekend will be a pretty big episode. So definitely check that out. And again, thank you for continuing to check me out. And we will see you next week.